Hey everybody! Joining me today is Karla Campos, who is an award-winning small business influencer, the originator and host of the podcast Entrepreneur Moms, and founder of Social Media Says, a social media marketing company. Karla is particularly gifted with embracing problems as opportunities for growth and innovation, as well as amplifying personal stories for marketing. Pull up a comfy chair. This one gonna be low-key, but info-packed nonetheless. Hi, I want to welcome Karla Campos to Janie's Way show. Well, I'm so delighted to have you today and bring you expertise and experience. I was so excited for our conversation. And Happy New Year, Karla.
Happy New Year, Jenny. How are you? I'm so happy to be here today.
I am excited to have you. Karla is entrepreneur. Oh, I'm sure she'll tell you all about that. A podcast host, and she's on a mission to empower women in business. So, if you can tell us the story how you started, because some of our listeners probably not familiar with your story. How's it all started for you? Your journey.
Well, I think I've always been very, what do they people call it? I forget the word. I've always been very motivated and ambitious. That's the word, ambitious. So from a young age, I've been working my whole life for other companies. And from a young age, I always wanted to get to the next level, step to the next level. I think young people, when you start off fresh from college, everyone wants to just jump to the manager role, right? Without the experience, you're just that ambitious. I want that top role where I'm calling all the shots, but perhaps we're not ready, but we don't know it at the time. So when that ambition first hit, I was in college. I actually took a little break because me and my husband at the time, we had a surprise baby. So once I had the baby, I went back to college and I was learning all about entrepreneurship. And I read about the creator of Craigslist, right? And at the time, I was also working for the Department of Labor. So I had my job and I was happy there, but I felt like I needed to do more. I'm reading all these stories in college about entrepreneurship, and it's like it just started that drive where it's like, I can do that. Like, how can I help people? How can I create products that change the world? That's ambition, as you can tell, right? That's like big, big dreams. But at that age, you're not thinking that they're so big. You think everything that you can conquer everything. So when I read the story of the creator of Craigslist, I said, I want to do that too. So I'm working for the Department of Labor, and we had just gotten an entire website remodel. I'll call it a remodel. And everybody was having problems. So I kept getting all the complaints. And I'm like, hey, I have no knowledge. At the time, I had no knowledge of web development. But I was like, hey, why can't I build something that fixes all these problems? And then I would stay up all night with baby, with husband, learning web development online. And that's how my journey pretty much started.
Mm. So, what was that so exciting for you about entrepreneurship? Is it the challenges? Is it like a puzzle, you think? Or is it always your ambition that always been driving you from young age?
I think it's family. A lot of it comes from family. And I'm not sure where I started becoming, or maybe I was always that problem solver, right? And from a young age, I just wanted to make the world a better place. So it always comes from there. How can I help others? Because oftentimes I found that people offer help, but it's help that comes with a twist, right? So I wanted just to change the world because I've been through so much through my life that I was like, hey, if these people are having so much trouble applying for jobs and they're not getting jobs only because the website is difficult to use, like, why am I the only one seeing that? And it was like a step. I needed to step in and sometimes believe it or not, I'm like an omnivert. So I've been shy all my life, but when I see other people having issues that I can fix, it's like a drive to take action. It's like these people are having trouble, right? Accessing an online job application and nobody's helping them. So it's like I can help. So it's always been that feeling that I gotta help. I gotta step in because I can do something about it.
So you always felt like you want to empower people, help them solve or make it something simpler for them so they can actually be and do whatever they wanted to do. So you always had that feeling, sounds like.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people have a good intention. It's never like the companies that I worked with, it wasn't because they were just ill intentioned that they weren't like they didn't buy that website that didn't function because they had that knowledge, right? So if
Mm.
I can pick it up because I've been talking to the people, so I always felt like I had that, I can pick that up and I have to do something about it because perhaps no one's noticed yet. And that kind of sometimes gets me in trouble, believe it or not. But it's like, I got to do it because I see it, you know?
It sounds like you're seeing problems where nobody else is seeing the problems.
And sometimes people think problems are bad, right? But to me, as a person who likes to create and invent and entrepreneur, right? When you have that entrepreneur spirit, problems are the solutions. Problems help you create the problem. I mean, the products, right? Because without the problems, you don't have a product. And often online, people have like this mindset where it's, hey, if you focus on the problems too much, then your life is going to be negative. But if you focus on the problems and you can create solutions, your life is going to be actually outstanding. That's how apps get developed, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, people have a tendency to think that in order to have a great life or succeed, you shouldn't have any problems or experience any challenges. But as you just pointed out very well, that it's the challenges and the problems when we solve or get on the other end of that problem, that's where the great things happen. That's how inventions happens. That's how new idea happens. I'm so glad you pointed out. It's so true.
Thank you. You know, and it's not like we're looking for problems. And sometimes that could, if you are definitely focused on too much problems and you're not aware, that could lead you definitely down like a dark place. But if you're focused on, okay, problems and in creating solutions, then that's the mindset you want to stay in. You don't want to like just be in problems so much where it's like it brings you down, but understand that the problems are where it starts.
Problems is part of the journey. It's like it's to me, I see it like a stepping stones. Like, okay, we solved this one. Okay, we know what to do now. Then what's the next things that we can accomplish or solve, and then we'll go to the next step. It to me, it's like a stairs, like a stepping way to get where you want to be, and that's all part of the journey.
Yes. No, I agree with you 100%, but I know that that's why we connected so well online because you have that mindset. And I'm not sure about your journey yet because, you know, we're pretty much fresh on the journey meeting, but I'm sure there was a lot of lessons for you where it gave you this mindset, or maybe it comes like I was telling you from early in my experience, it came early on just from myself. So I'm not sure how that works for you, but I could tell when we're speaking that we're like on the same mindset so that we, you know, we're on the same page agreeing. We're not falling for, say, things we read online where, hey, if it's not going perfect, you should quit or it's something's wrong, you know? So I like that about meeting people like you who have a similar mindset as I do.
I can see where we were able to initially like almost immediately get along because I can relate to what you were saying. I was always ambitious, doing all and always. I was telling people like actually the other day I was talking with my friend and I said I'm reflecting back on my life, especially because at the beginning of the year you always reflect, right? So okay, so new year, new beginning. It's like I'm doing always multiple things, and that's why I call myself a multi-passionate person because I love to learn new things, to do things. But it came for me, it sounds like the same way for you, from the childhood. I was always ambitious. I was always a student. I was always learning new things and doing extra curriculum activities and sports and music and choir. So I always like busy, busy. It's not because I was necessarily hassled from early childhood. I was just very disciplined, got a lot of stuff done. So I think that was one of the things that we learn as children growing up, the discipline, being able to handle multiple things at once. We kind of take that to the rest of our journey. But then, of course, we evolve as adults. And I'm sure you can speak on that, how your childhood influenced who you are now and what you learn from that, that's helping you to be who you are at this point.
Yeah, I think my parents, they were often really they focused around education and how education and learning is extremely important all the time. So even when I had my baby before I finished college, I always had my mom, my grandma, hey, go back to college. Go back to college. And you mentioned that you were in nursing or in the medical field. And I actually, when I was going back to college, they wanted me to be a nurse. So I was going through the nursing program, but I mean, I was good at it. Like you said, we're always focused on doing good in academics. I'm not sure what your background is. I'm Latin, so like the medical field is very important, but I just didn't feel it in my soul for some reason. And I'm sure it's not going to bite me in the butt because I'm sure what I do now, I can help people in the medical field, but through what I do best, instead of having to be in a hospital, with my investigative mind, maybe create an app or do something that my skill set could be more helpful in the medical field than actually be in the medical field, because I get drained sometimes when people are sick or when people are experiencing a lot of emotional turmoil. It gets me sort of like in that same state as them, which I like. I know I have to pull back because I'm not going to be as valuable if I'm not in my brain mindset that I can help. So through the medical training, you have to get out of your emotions. You got to get in there and just be emotionless and do the work, because you're going to be very traumatized if you're going in emotions trying to help somebody who is dying or somebody who needs medical attention. That's like very stressful. So I know that, you know, my skill set, where my power is not necessarily being directly hands-on in the medical field, but I can help with my skill set, coming up with ideas, creating new businesses around what I'm hearing, what those problems are happening. I'm like, hey, maybe this app can help here. And I always love looking at technology and different apps, and telling people, hey, look, this app can do this for you. This app makes it more accessible. Here, we have this here, we have that there that can help you with your medical charts and things like that. So I just, from my childhood and just kind of like, hey, keep studying, keep learning. That's where I think my background sort of goes with me. I don't know if I'm making sense, but
Yeah.
my childhood and that emphasis from my parents telling me, study, always keep studying, because everything's always a new learning experience. What you know today might change tomorrow. Keep studying, keep studying. So I think that from childhood is what developed my personality.
Well, I can so relate to that because I was always studying and studying and learning new things. And yes, I have a bachelor's degree in nursing with minors in biology, but what I learned in there is through my experiences of going through nursing school, learning how to help people. I can take that heart of caring into coaching and business and supporting people, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to solve the problems, number one, you need to assess or diagnose. Like everybody's saying, like, well, when you come to the doctor, what the first thing they do, they have to diagnose the problem, right? So in order to diagnose, you need to have all the facts. You have to have the lab work, correct? So here, when you look at the businesses or you're trying to help the coaches, you have to look at the whole picture and see where's the issue. So where you have to diagnose. and I don't like the cutter solution. Every problems, uh, every business have different nuances, different symptoms, but they may be you have to kind of look deeper to see what the biggest problem is, and I can kind of take my skill set of assessing, which is diagnosis, trying to figure out what are the symptoms, look at the whole picture, and then figure out, okay, what are the couple of best solution. We can start with one and just go down that road too.
No, yep. And that's excellent that you say that because, and you see how we're very in sync with that same mindset. Because I think, like we've been talking, we have similar backgrounds where it's like medical field, caring for people, diagnosing and talking to them. And I also have that background where it comes to media, TV, and radio. So there comes a point sometimes where you created a plan, right? A marketing plan or business plan for your clients, but they're not getting the audience they need. So you have to go, say, to a media company or radio, somebody that can amplify your voice, right? Because of course, everyone's on social media, everyone's already doing that, but there comes some points where people get stuck. And of course, that costs money, right? So once you have a plan, how do you distribute it? And that's what I help with. So because I know what platforms work when it comes to a bigger scale. One of our very popular products, not to be salesy, but I'm just gonna just mention that email marketing, right? When people don't have an email marketing list that maybe you're helping your clients with, we have already records from people who have signed up through all of our contests, et cetera, for TV or radio. And we have all their data, et cetera, and we can match it to who you're trying to target. So this way makes it easier for you to distribute your voice if you don't have a list yet because you're working on it, right? You have your marketing individual who's helping you. And again, like you were mentioning the diagnosis, this is not for everyone. Like, me and your marketing consultant should sit down, have a talk. Let's see what the budget looks like for the new year. And let's like figure out what budget they have and what best we can work together to amplify that voice. But like I was telling you before, when you're diagnosing your clients and getting to know them and trying to give them the best service, if what I'm doing helps or it doesn't help, right? Like with any medical tool.
Karla, how do you stand out in a crowded place on the social media? Like, because like you mentioned a few minutes ago, everybody out there and everybody's trying to do something, creates things. It's like we in a time where everybody feels like they're expert or can be, and that's not difficult. Well, is it difficult?
I think the best way to stand out is to be authentic. And I know sometimes that becomes difficult because we have people in different spaces that want us to be certain things, right? So the more authentic you are, and sometimes people get afraid of being authentic, right? Because people are judging them. But I think that's how people connect best. So say the perfect salesperson or the perfect business owner has a specific way of talking, way that they look. And when you talk to them, you just don't feel that connection, right? But you're like, hey, I like Jenny. Me and her had a wonderful talk. We have a similar mindset. I know she knows what she's doing. We can work together. So being authentic actually makes you stand out. I have a lot of experience with the Latino community. I used to work for Telemundo before. So I had a client actually come in, car sales, a big car client. And they were like, how can we differentiate from, so say somebody from El Salvador, someone from the Dominican Republic, someone from Puerto Rico, someone from Guatemala? Like, how do you guys differentiate? Because those cultures are all different, even though sometimes people don't know this, right? So we had a whole talk about that, like how we can section off each culture and sell them the same car, right? But like, how do you talk to each specific market? And it's not because I'm trying to be that person. I am that person. So who can you talk to about Latin marketing? Karla, why? She's nice, right? Amicable, at least, right? I think I'm nice. I think you're nice, right? So, but it's about having those conversations. It's not like a one size fits all, like you said. So we're having this conversation here. You're like learning about me. I'm learning about you. And I'm like, hey, maybe you have this client that has this need, right? But it's not like pressured, or it's not like you're being aggressive with the people. You're like, hey, this is what I do. This is what you do. We like each other. Very social, right? Social media about socializing. Pretty much, I think how you stand out just by connecting with people that might need your service, like your personality, and see that you're being authentic and you're not like trying to rip them off or have some other kind of plan, right? You're just like, hey, this is what I offer. Let's chat a little bit, you know?
Yeah, more like getting to know people. Sometimes it's a little like, okay, well, here's my services. Well, you don't even know if I need your services. You didn't even talk to me.
Yeah. And it's not about selling either. It's like, okay, well, we talked about our services, but I'm not going to be like, oh, remember my service yesterday? Yeah, exactly. You haven't diagnosed your clients yet. So you don't even know if anyone needs it or doesn't need it. But we're still connected as friends, because maybe in the future, hey, Jenny, I know somebody that actually needs your service, or somebody wants to be in your podcast. Like, let me give you their information. You guys have the chat. It's about the relationship building. And I think a lot of people miss that when it comes to social media.
I cannot agree more. Like I connected with someone a couple years ago. Like the person wanted me to coach him, and then things happen. Blah blah blah. Long story short. But anyways, like when I start podcasting, he's like, we're talking again. It's like keeping up with people and having the connection in relationship, because you don't know, like 3 or 6 months or even 2 years down the road, they may be able to refer you somebody who maybe they weren't ready at that time to be that client for you. That doesn't mean that down the road it won't be. I think people may be also taking it as a rejection. You know how what I get to hear from other coaches, and that the biggest problem with selling is they can't stand getting on a sales call because they're afraid to hear the no, like they feel personally rejected, but they overlooking the part that it may not be about you. Maybe you weren't solving what they needed to be solving at that time. They may still have that problem, but maybe that wasn't the focus at that particular time. Or maybe they weren't able to communicate what are they selling. So there's so many angles. Like people need to just keep changing their unique what are we calling in the marketing, unique proposition offer.
A niche.
A niche, maybe changing the niche, maybe your unique selling point, maybe not communicated well. I feel like it's continuous journey in evolving, figuring out what is the right message to really truly communicate your uniqueness. What is that message? Would that resonate with the people that you're trying to serve? That's kind of the conversations you should be having with you yourself, because you know what you want to change, like figuring out what how you can support people, how can you help them, what problem you want to solve.
And it's important that I think sometimes, say somebody talks to somebody like you who's going to have this conversation, because I think people feel like everyone wants to have this conversation with them. And if they're not making the correct business connection that can help them with it, they have an expectation that if they're telling their friends, family, neighbors, and the neighbors are not giving them like the conversation that you would give them, that their business is over, that something's wrong with them. It's like, talk to an expert, right? So say you have a client and they're like, asking these questions. How should I position myself? How should I do this? They talk to Jenny, and then they can be like, okay, once you have all that resolved, then you could talk to somebody like me, because your message is already created and we can amplify that message to reach more people. But you need that expert that you identify with to have the conversation with you. And that expert is not your neighbor, your mom, your friend, your aunt, whatever, because those people might not be in the business mindset that is going to lead you in the right direction to success. And I think a lot of people fail when it comes to that.
I think that's excellent, another excellent point. Sometimes you feel like you have the close friends or the family members, but they may never ran the business or have no intention, and they will give you advice which can end up costing you lots of years and money at the end of the day, instead of talking with an expert and figuring what is the best course of action and how can you get it faster. And then when you connect with that expert, like for example, if they connect with me, I can refer them to other expert to amplify their message and get to their desired outcome quicker. Like we can connect with Karla and other expert that will get them there even faster.
Mm-hmm. And it's
And
important. It's so important. And I think a lot of people fall when it comes to that. When they're running their business, they go to people who are not experts in the field, maybe because they're just popular too. But how does the popular influencer say, give you good advice in business if that's not what they're an influencer for? So if somebody's a makeup influencer, sure, they're popular, but how does that apply to you and your business? And you haven't consulted with somebody that is knowledgeable and you're just like, oh, I'm going to the influencer. But I don't think people put those things together too when it comes to social media, having a good plan, talking to the experts, and then moving in that manner.
Karla, do you think people can figure out themselves what platform they should go, or should they stick to a couple of platforms? What are your thoughts on where it comes to differences in social media, and if they had no idea where to start, what should they do?
Well, each platform definitely has an audience. So as we know, TikTok has a younger audience. And I was actually speaking to somebody about this the other day because they told me they spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars on a TikTok campaign. They had followers, they had likes and video views, but these things never converted to sales. And it's because I looked at their videos and I'm like, these videos are not speaking to the audience that's on TikTok, right? So definitely know your audience, right? If you have a marketing manager, etc., who like can be on all platforms, great, right? The more you're present, the better. But you don't have to be on every platform to be successful. Say you want to be on Facebook, that's where you're good at. Do you have a marketing manager or you don't? Because different businesses have different people placed, right? So if you don't have a marketing manager, it's just you're a small business, you're managing everything, then it's best to stick to the platforms where you know what you're doing, because you could also put out the wrong message and just turn everybody off, right? But if you have the marketing manager that knows the audience in each platform, then definitely, right? The more places you are, like people in fame, right? Celebrities, they know they got to be everywhere. But your business doesn't have to be a celebrity status business to make money. So it depends where you're at. But yeah, you don't have to be in every platform. Like personally, I'm not on every platform, but I know like what I need to be, or if I need a product to be on TikTok, I know who to go to, what to do, right? I'm like that manager. But again, that's a different budget as well, right? Big companies, McDonald's, they hire people to do this on a yearly basis. They have somebody on the books doing it. So it's just like you said before, it depends on your business and your budget. Like it's not one size fits all.
Mm-hmm. And there's something said about being omnipresent. That's a new term nowadays. Yeah, like you everywhere. But there's also another point, a great point that you mentioned is like just because you're getting how many views doesn't mean that you will be making sales. So that one is not equal the other necessarily. And sometimes people focusing more on like, oh, I get, I don't know, 100,000 views. Does that necessarily mean they're going to sell their service or products? You tell me. Is it?
No, it doesn't. And I work with big companies. I think I told you before that I worked with Celsius and big brands. And I can show analytics where it's like, okay, you have these many views, but how many beverages did you sell? So I always had to prove that part. And that all comes back down to the strategy. But again, Celsius spends thousands of dollars. You know, they're not just posting on social media. Like people don't know what happens behind the scenes. They're just like, oh, I see a lot of people posting about Celsius, but you don't know how many thousands of dollars it takes for them. One campaign, I'm going to tell you, is like close to $1 million, but I'm not going to say where or what because I don't have that permission to talk about it. But they're spending millions on these campaigns. So if you're there thinking, hey, I have a drink and it's great, but I'm not getting, you don't know how much money the companies that are actually getting these views and converting to sales are spending. So you can't look at yourself that like you have to have the correct strategy in place to get the sales, but know that the brands that are getting those views and they're being popular, they're going viral, it's because they have a lot of money to spend. So you can't really compare a business that's starting to a company that is already stable and has the marketing and ad budget.
That's extremely great point because people, we as a human overall, I just had that conversation with the other day with one of my other business coach friend. People, we as human want to compare ourselves to others, but we don't know what's behind the scene. We don't know how much money they spend. You don't know what kind of struggle they've been through to get where they are at. You don't know how long it took them to be where they at with the journey. And for example, if you are someone that's just starting to get your message out there, compare yourself to someone that already been through 5 years of their journey and have millions and millions of budget, it's just going to destroy you because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be where you're at your journey and see what budget you have, what can you do with what you have at that particular moment to get your message across and start making sales. If not necessarily compared to $1 million budget advertisements.
Nope. And it's a process, I think, that a lot of people miss, that it's a process to get from the starting point to, say, like an Apple or a Tesla, like any of those people we see online, the entrepreneurs that are like the
Yeah.
top entrepreneurs, they started in garages, but people don't see the process because by the time they get popular, they're already like popular. So it's because they already made it. Like nobody looks back in that whole process that it took to get there. And I think it's important for people to just enjoy the process, because that's when you look back, you're going to be like, I remember garage, or I remember when, nobody would buy my product and I was begging, like I was knocking on, not suggesting people knock on doors, but I was knocking everyone's door and people would just close the door on me. I remember those days and look at me today. So it's like, we got to enjoy that process because people don't start at the top.
Mm. I feel like this is part of the journey because you have to enjoy every moment because this is part of the creation. Like you mentioned earlier, you're creators. We are creating whatever product or services we're, and it's every day we're learning and developing something new. And the reason why I love marketing and always been fascinated by it way before everybody is being online, just the marketing itself is because it's like a puzzle. To me, it's a challenge. People ask me, why do you like marketing overall? What's exciting about that? To me, is exciting because it's trying trial and errors. It's almost like you a scientist in the lab. You're trying to figure out what best ingredients you need to put, or like you cooking the 5-star meal. It's like you trying different things, and it's an experimentation and creation. That's why I like marketing. It excites me because you're learning something new and you have to continuously evolve with it because marketing, especially online marketing, is evolving. It has been evolving in the last, 10 years at least. It's going so fast now.
Yeah, and that you mentioned that. I mean, I love that you say that the scientist, because you do feel like a scientist when you're putting all the pieces together. And it's like, I don't know, did you ever watch that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? And the guy is like in his basement, just trying to unshrink the kids. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes like, okay, well, this campaign was supposed to be good. Now I have to fix it because I promised this and I better make it work because now I won't feel good if
I
it doesn't do what I promised. Like I said, you were going to do this. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, and sometimes it's difficult because you even if you put your best effort, it's at times it's impossible to predict the reaction. And I feel like people sometimes misconstrue that with something that you haven't tried hard. But have you not tried hard? Or sometimes you just have to change it. Say, oh, well, my God, it didn't work. And you will have to keep trying. And it's hard to explain for people sometimes, like, what is the answer? How do I do that? I don't think there is an immediate answer. It's the process.
And when you mentioned that, because Facebook and all the social media is always evolving, like now we have AI and things are always changing. The people ask you, hey, but you said it works A, B, and C. It works this way. I'm like, yes, but like the tech platforms are always evolving. So they changed it. And then people are like, they get so upset about it because they're like, oh, but you said it works this way. Yeah, but the evolving of the technology is going so fast these days that they changed it. So I don't control the platforms. Like I flow with them as best as possible to get you the results you want. But they're evolving so fast these days that, it's uncomfortable for many people. And it's like, it's funny, right? Like that people don't understand that it's changing so fast. And it's like, you're not lying to them. You're not trying. It's like, it changed overnight.
Mhm.
I can't even log in this way. I don't know what happened, but I got to figure it out. Like being the scientist that you say.
Yeah, and I think as long as you, one of the biggest lessons for both of us is like we have to explain to our clients, like we learning, because it's growing so fast, we're learning wisdom. But since we had previous experiences that they haven't, we're trying to stay ahead of the game. But as it's progressing so fast, and they're changing things up so fast, and algorithm changes and all of that, we're doing our very best to keep up with it. But at a certain point, it's like you just have to trust that your expert, that they know what they're doing, and put your message out there with your unique with your uniqueness, and stay true to who you are, and that will shine in your messaging. Like for me, like with podcasting, even like when I very started, I was very, very scripted. I was like, oh my God, what's the next question? What am I going to ask? And now it's like, well, we're just going to be in the flow, and whatever comes out, I'm sure it will be great. It just being in the moment for me, that's what makes a big difference. And staying true to who I am in my messaging and how I treat people with love and respect. And I always work hard. That's never an issue for me. But you have to be able to communicate it to people so they know where you're coming from and what you can do for them.
Yeah. And I think that because we both have that medical field sort of background, we understand that, say, pretend we're doctors, right? We're going to say we're doctors. We're doctors of marketing or, business, but we're doctors and new technologies are coming up, right? So yesterday we gave you a pacemaker that was from last year, but today we found out that there's a new pacemaker. You can't even see it. So we want to change it for you because this is a new offering that's available that's better for you.
Mhm.
So you got to believe that we're actually out there studying, doing our homework, learning, because me and you, we talked about being into education and always keeping up. So you have to, exactly like you said, trust the expert, trust the person that is guiding you, because even though maybe perhaps other people may not have your best interest at heart, right? Maybe, I'm not sure. But us, like you can tell from how we're speaking that that's our main focus. We care about the client, we care about the results you get, and we care about just keeping ourselves at the top of the game when it comes to technology as much as possible.
Mhm.
And we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but like we're doing the best we can to get everybody the best result because we care. We're caring people. We would not have even looked at the nursing or medical field if we weren't those empathic and caring people. So
Yeah. It's like I tell people when they ask me to describe myself, I say I'm entrepreneur with the heart of a nurse, which that's what it is. That I care how my friends, how my clients, and how my colleagues, and I like to treat people the way I want to be treated. And I feel like that's one of the biggest thing. As long as you put people where you want it to be, how you want to be treated, and always continuously learning and trying to stay ahead of the game, and you communicated well to them, telling them, I have your best interest no matter what happens. That's I think that's the biggest thing.
Yep, indeed. That there are people like you and I that still really care about the customer, because we have maybe perhaps that old school mentality where the customer comes first. Because I don't know if you see online sometimes people are like treating the customers awful and people agree with it. And it's like, would you like to be treated in that way? Right? No. So
No.
we have that together, that mentality that, hey, we want to be treated like we're going to treat people the way we want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Just what you give, you get back. That's life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Karla, can you tell me when you about one situation when you had no idea what you're doing? How did you overcome any one as your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, if we're gonna stick to the new platforms coming out, there have been many times where I've been in rooms where new technologies have been presented. So, for example, I was working a lot with streaming television. So, I believe at one point they changed the platform we were using. So, I had to relearn all of that. And then I had to communicate with clients, hey, the video sizes have changed. The way we're doing the procedure has changed. So I had to re-educate myself in a whole new platform because the company decided to move to the new platform because it was more cost effective.
Mm.
So it's like you gotta switch fast. Like I can't sit there and be like, oh man, why did the platform change? I was used to this. I gotta just move. I gotta go. The platform changed. I'm here. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna ask for help from the new people that came up with the platform, learn as much as possible, and then carry that knowledge back to whoever needs to hear it from me, even though it's not going to be pleasant. Sometimes people don't like, I love change. The entrepreneurs, we're like, yeah, the next thing, let's build stuff. But other people sometimes are not in that mindset. They're like, oh man, now this is bothering my day. I already have my schedule. Like I'm comfortable. Now you're coming up with this new thing. Yeah. So there's been various occasions that's occurred, or maybe a campaign's not going like it's expected, so I have to be like, hey, I'm sorry to communicate this information to you because it's not going how we planned, and we got to pause and we have to rethink this plan and do it again because now there's new information. So there's with technology, it's every day that this happens. So I'm always like the bringer of bad news, unfortunately, but I do my best to, hey, this is the bad news, but we're going to fix it. We know how to fix it, so we're good.
Yeah, that brings me to the next thing. What are the best? What the quality of the people that will be successful nowadays? I think I will name a couple of them and see if you agree or adds a few more. I feel like flexibility and being able to pivot right away and not complaining about stuff what you just mentioned. Well, things change. Be prepared. Things are going to change and you just have to be adapt and adjust. What other qualities do you feel like is necessary to be successful entrepreneurs, especially in nowadays and age?
I love that you said that adaptability. That's like the number one, I think, because everything's changing, like you said. Number two, not being afraid to communicate what other people would assume are negative, because it's a flow, right? Life is not always positive or negative. It's like you have to know what to do. If someone's having a heart attack, it's not about, oh man, is this negative or positive? It's happening. This is life. So what are we going to do? Like, what can we do? What are our movements? What are our expert movements that can fix this person, that can help this person from not passing away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have that expertise. So let's not focus on what's positive or negative. This is what's happening. Let's not give it a name. How can I solve it with my technical expertise, right?
And
Ability to communicate is
Mhm.
very important, not just speaking, also via text, because the way that communication is changing so rapidly. People are online texting, they're on the comments. It's not the way that it was where it was just a phone call. Like people communicate in various ways. Sometimes people are like, I don't like to text past this time, right? But you'll get a text from them later. Hey, I know it's 1 p.m., but I had this issue. And you'll get it in the morning or whenever you're available. I'm not saying take text when you're not ready to take text, right? But you get in the morning and like, oh man, this person texts me. So the communication has changed so much that we have to just, again, it goes back to that adapt that you said, and communication, and not putting judgment on what's positive or negative. Just like, this is reality. How can my expertise help solve a problem?
How my peace of mind and being like focusing on always having a solution no matter what can you do with what you got at that moment and create a solution. Perhaps you have to think outside of the box, or perhaps there's another way of doing something that you weren't even planning on doing. I'm not saying it may be better, but sometimes it may end up even being better. It's like what you just said. You don't assume that it's negative. You see it as it is. That what it is now. What can we do about it? Instead of like flipping out. I would call it flipping out. Oh, this happened. I can't deal with it. Well, yes, you can. If you don't deal with it, then you're not going to succeed, because you have to be prepared that things will happen. It's life. Like I said, someone's having a heart attack. What, you're going to sit there and scream? No, you're going to do whatever you can to save their life. It's the same thing with the business. Like, it's not going the way you want. We just say, okay, well, I'm done here. Goodbye. No, you figure out a way how to change the direction. What you can do, who you can consult with, who you can bring on board, or perhaps you need to infuse a little more money, figure out, or redirect your money, or hire a new person. There's so many different things you can do and try to get unstuck.
Oh, perfectly said. And also I was thinking that, if sometimes people hold so much into the vision instead of the adaptation, but it goes back to the adaptation. Oh man, I have 3 restaurants, but it's not working here. So it's okay to cut back too. If the restaurant is not working, say North Carolina, where Jenny is, right? For whatever reason, I don't know, but it's working in South Florida where I'm at, then it's okay sometimes to let go, like, it's not working here. I can let go of that restaurant. I'm not a failure. I just see that the audience is not there. So why am I holding on to something that's keeping me back when I could just have my 2 restaurants or are actually successful, instead of trying to hold on to something that's not working, right? That, again, adaptability. So I think that's the word, because, when you go on social media, they're like, what's the word for the year? So we're going to go with Jenny's word, which is
Adaptability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, speaking of the words, I think there's a new thing in 2024. What's your word for the day? So the 2 that I mentioned earlier on one of my friends' posts, one was adventure, because I'm all about that, because you have to experiment and experiment. The second one was, I think yesterday I said confidence, because I'm really big about confidence, and the only way you build the confidence is you keep taking the steps every day. And here's your 3rd word today, adaptability. So combine all those 3 and you will be right on your way.
It sounds like a happy life, because adventure, I wanted for this year, I definitely wanted to travel more. So I'm like, adventure, adaptability, like, yeah, let's get that life for 2020.
Yeah, let's get in. I think sometimes we're kind of stuck in certain ways, and we forget that adventures is also part of our development and growth. And then when we little children, we always like to investigate and explore. So adventures is part of your exploration, and that helps your creativity once you explore and learn new things. So yeah, those, whoever's listening now, there's your 3 words coming from Jenny's way: adventure, confidence, and adaptability. And you practice that every day, and you'll be good.
And then you mentioned creativity. Are we adding another one? We're adding 4 words.
Creativity, absolutely. But I feel like if they emphasize or amplify, and another big word that's been lately, everybody loves that we amplify certain things. Then if you kind of highlight in your life those key, I call it discipline, because I grew up as 100% discipline. There is no for me to say. You can't say no. You're going to do certain things. And I was upset at that time, but looking back, like, it taught me who I am now. because I have the discipline to do and create whatever I want. Whether I want to get up out of bed or not, as I was listening to Mel Robbins the other day, she said, sometimes I don't feel like getting out of bed. Well, I do too. And this morning was one of those days. And here we are. Isn't that interesting? And then we had another technical difficulty. We won't get in there. But you know what? The energy and the flow and your desire to create will not stop you no matter what. Do you want to get out of bed? No, but you do it anyway. You have technical difficulties, so what? You do without it. You still continue. That's kind of the drive and the passion that you need to have if you want to really experience life fully. You have to have the drive and desire in caring for what you do and for people around you, basically.
Yep. Perfectly said.
What motivates you, Karla? What keeps your passion going every day? What gets you out of bed?
No, what gets me out of bed? Definitely the kids, right? You always want to give an example to your kids because when they get out into the world, I think people are put into these boxes, right? And then everyone starts to believe that life should be a certain way. And then you're seeing all these entrepreneurs out there and they're living their life, like you said, adventuring, traveling, working in the fields they want to work in. They look happy, right? I mean, it's not necessarily that they are happy, but you assume if people are living the life that they actually love and want, that they are happy. So it definitely drives me every day to wake up and try to be that role model for the kids. Like, hey, look, I'm doing it, right? Me, your mom, the uncoolest person in the world to you. I can do it, and I'm doing my best to live my best life. You guys can do it too. You don't have to settle for what everyone else says your life should be, because if you do that, then you're not going to be happy. I mean, discipline is important, definitely, right? But it doesn't have to look a certain way, right? Like, I'm not in the military, so discipline for someone in the military would look way different than for an entrepreneur or anybody, right? But it's like, learn to live life your own way. And if I can teach people that we can be happier, people doing what we love and helping other people, that I think the world would be a better place, just because happier people tend to be like better at wanting to have other people in the same state of happiness,
Positivity and happiness is contagious too, just like negative energy. Like if you send that in the world and you set the example, like you don't have to get to somebody else level, I call it, that negativity. You can continue be that example, and there's a fine balance, like you were saying, between enjoying life and having the discipline. I think it's a very fine line, and you have to figure out what that is for you.
Yeah, and it's like when people do sports, right? They love it so much sometimes, right? The ones who make it to the top, they love their sport they're in, right? The other people, maybe they like it, they don't like it. So the discipline is not there. But if you love the sport and you're there because like you have that passion for it, the discipline kind of comes with it. But like you say, you have hard days when you don't want to get up. But yeah, I was looking forward to conversing with you. Like, this is fun for me, right? So it's not
it is fun.
technical. Yeah, if we have technical difficulties, that's fine, because like I'm passionate about talking to people. It's fun. So I'll just wait out, right? But if you don't have that discipline because maybe you're in a place you're not supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you love something, like, you're willing to do the discipline part because you love it so much.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. Yeah, because and then comes the flexibility and adaptability. Things may not go at the exact time as you're planning, exact way as you're planning, but at the end of the day, is it really matter? No, we're still having an amazing conversation. Hopefully providing values for the listener, and they will learn something and take it. If they learn one thing from our conversation, I'm happy. If they learn more than one, my day is made.
we're like what, the Buddhas? If people were like taking away everything we said today, and then they were like in their business 100%. We're like the gurus.
I mean, I think it's your philosophy, the way you look at life. There's definitely a lot of skills you need, and you need a certain quality and personality and drive and desire. But overall, it's your philosophy and how you look at life and what makes you happy, what's light you up, and you have to build it for you by trial and error. We don't always know who we are or what we want, but by experimenting and figuring it out, hopefully we'll learn it. Some people never do because they're not willing to experiment.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the same person this year that you were last year. Not saying that last year was terrible or not. Maybe last year was wonderful, but from that whole experience now, you know what you want for the next year. You know
Mhm.
where you want to make changes. And it's not because necessarily it's something bad or good. It's just because, hey, I want more travel time, like you were saying, more adventure. So now I have to move things around, right? Again, we're back to the adaptability.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? We're back to adaptability. It's kind of like it kind of sums it up because, like what you were saying earlier, you may have a concrete vision, but at the same time, you have to be open. If it goes a little off of the direction, it may not be that bad. You just have to be able to be open minded and see, is it maybe that's where I needed to be. I think a big vision is what kind of gets us out of bed. But at the end of the day, then you have to see what you attract and how things panned out, and kind of pick out where do you feel the most happiest, where do you feel more at peace, and kind of go that way. It's like what you were saying last year. I wasn't a bad person. I was just different, and the experiences that I had, and in my podcasting and other and amazing people that I talk with, and I got to experiment and see the world and their journey from their perspective and through their eyes. It's affect me also. So I'm different. Am I better? Maybe, but I'm just different because I was like it's like a pig painting the picture. I have a little different colors there, different tools that I can pull out that I didn't have before.
Trying out the new Bluetooth.
Ah, yeah. Well, I want a big new computer.
New computer. That's always a learning curve.
Carla, what's your definition of success? What is it to you? Because for everybody, it's very different.
I think definitely being in a place where you feel, I don't want to say comfortable because that, that's a deterrent to success. Because once you get comfortable, you know that there's something's coming that's going to shake you up because you got to upgrade. But I think success is, at least for the yearly plan, right? You had a vision in your mind and you accomplished at least 5 of those goals that you had, and you're satisfied with yourself, right? So
Mhm.
when you're, hey, did I get this many sales this year? Yes. That feels good, right? That makes you feel positive. So success, maybe even little things. Man, I actually got 8 hours of sleep today. Amazing. And I still got the sales. Success. So have a list of things that are important to you, which might change next year, right? Because success today is not the same as success next year at the same time, because you've had all the experiences like we talked about. So definitely make a list of things that you think are going to make you feel accomplished for the year. If you know, right, that, say, like we talked about that business, say there's a business in North Carolina, that is not doing well. If I close that business, hey, that's success to me because that business was making me lose money.
Mhm.
So it might look on the outside as not successful, but it was actually a successful move for my business. So having a picture of what you think success should be and seeing how many goals you can accomplish, but then not being mad at yourself because there's still stuff left over because there's always next year, right? And even though maybe perhaps, like, I don't want to like say jinx, but next year maybe you come down with some kind of sickness or something and you can't make your goals, and but you could look back in the last year and say, hey, look at everything that I accomplished. I know what success looks like and I'm satisfied, I'm okay. I'm at peace with this. I'm happy.
Yeah, I think a success to me is like having a big vision that gets you out of bed, but at the same time, even if you didn't check all the boxes, it's okay. Look at the things that you did do, that you did accomplish, and that you proud of. I think success to me is living life on your term, and being, when I say on my own terms, is like seeing what's going on positive in your life. How many lives did you affected, and if you didn't reach all the goals, but they'll be the next year. But again, our definition of success and what we want is going to change from, may not necessarily year to year. It may even change from three months ago what I wanted now. It's not necessarily what you want today, because you hopefully grown as a person.
Indeed. And it
Yeah.
just looks different for everybody. And it's not about comparing what someone else did successfully, because that's their book, right? Look at your own book and how
Yeah.
happy you are at the end of the year because you did everything you wanted to do, at least for that year.
What's next for Karla? What do you want to accomplish next?
Well, I definitely want to do more podcasts.
Okay.
I host my own podcast, the Entrepreneur Moms Podcast. So I'm looking for people to chat with as well about their stories. So this year, definitely growing the podcast is sharing with women and empowering women and talking about their stories, because I notice a lot of the time I was on a post on Facebook. Sometimes those get a little bit controversial because everyone's kind of arguing, because they like to argue on Facebook for whatever reason. They're just like, you're wrong, I'm wrong. But anyway,
I think people just like to argue, period. Sorry, I had to intersect.
it's fun for humanity in 2024. Let's just argue. No, it started from before. I'm just like some guy, he said, women haven't had any accomplishments. They don't do anything. I'm like, what are you talking? Maybe, sorry, you don't read enough books, but that kind of activated something in me that said, hey, we need to get women's stories out there more, that women are doing things, where we have inventions, we have ambitions, we provide to society, because I don't know where this man has been living, but it's just like, what do you mean? I don't know any women who have done anything for society. So I just thought that was a good calling for me, like to help amplify the voices of women's stories, because apparently there are people out there that think we don't do nothing. There, it looks pretty. That's what he said.
Where he been?
We just been sitting here. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, I know. Karla, anything else you want to add, or you want to sum up what the key takeaways, what people should take home with them, biggest things from our conversation?
I think definitely our keywords that we had. We had some good keywords for the year. We did adaptability, which was our top one. We had creativity, which was like number 4 or 5. What else? You're the one who came up with the rest of them. So give me those 2 more.
All right. Well, let's say the first one I said adventure. That was like the first of the year. Then I said confidence, because you kind of need to be confident. Well, we said adaptability. We said creativity, and I would say not being afraid to make mistakes, because they're not mistakes. They're just stepping stones.
They're part of the journey. And we also talked about talking to experts and not kind of like falling for what's popular on social media. Talk to somebody who knows about business and marketing, so that you can have a good plan in place, especially now it's Q1, right? Quarter 1.
Yeah.
Everyone has a fresh start to start a new plan. Look over what didn't work last year or what you can improve. Talk to an expert. See how you can amplify. And definitely, just have more conversations with people out there, because you never know who you're connecting with. We did talk about that, like having the conversation, not necessarily expecting business right away and forcing people to buy what we have, but having the conversations. Hey, this is what I do. This is what you do. How can we work together?
I think that's a really, really big one, because I would say don't see it as a sales, see it as a communication and conversation. and creating the connection and relationship. Because what if you get with somebody on a sales call and they can't afford you now for whatever reason? Just it's not in their budget. I mean, it happens, right? So what if they know somebody that can? Just stay in touch with them and not taking it personally. Like they told me no. How am I gonna live the rest of my life? Oh no. It's not like that.
Yes. Because business, I mean, if you think of the old school way, people network, it was just slower because we didn't have the technology, but it's still the same business practices from the old school apply. The relationship is important. Treating people good is important. And let's not forget about that just because maybe we're not seeing it on popular social media channels and they're getting attention for being rude, mean, horrible, which are terrible things to do in business, right? It messes up relationships. You don't want to work with people who treat you bad.
I've seen a lot of that in my conversation with all of my guests. They emphasizing the last 2 points that you do need to create relationships, and even if the people in the same field, because they not necessarily specialize in the same thing, and they have different areas of the market that they specialize in, you may or may not have the knowledge. So instead of not talking with them, you talk with them and see if you can collaborate. So I think people, business, especially some of the business people, especially they're just starting, they forget that you don't need to be afraid of the competition, because you are you and you specialize in certain things, and you go with the people that you can have a connection. What if you can't find a connection with that person? That's okay. That's why you have friends, and you just refer it to somebody else.
Yeah, and I worked with a lot of marketing managers for business owners. So it's like I can talk better with the marketing manager because they know already the plan, what they need. And they just tell me, hey, look, this is what we're trying to do. How can we amplify? So it's easier to talk to somebody who's an expert and knows what they're doing, right? So that's a good connection to talk to the marketing managers that already know the plan, have everything in place, and they just want it, more eyes on it or whatever help that I can assist with, So it's always good to have connections that are also knowledgeable, because then working together with a bunch of scientists gets the work done way better with better results.
I feel like since I became a podcasting host, I see myself more of a collaborator, more of a connector, and I realized I love that. This is who I am. I love to connect people. I love to create relationship, and I want to make a difference in people's life anywhere I can. I mean, that they don't have to be my client. I don't have to be their clients, but at the same time, we can help them grow. And there is a way you can help each other grow. You don't have to be each other clients.
Indeed. Perfect. That's why we get along so well. We're on that same mindset. So
yeah. So how could listeners find you, Karla?
they could either go to mompreneurcenter.com or they can go on Facebook, of course. The podcast for the entrepreneur moms just sharing their businesses is facebook.com/entrepreneur moms on Facebook. So that's the best way to reach me.
And of course, we'll have all of your links, and people can find you there. And I think if people don't listen to the whole interview, I'm just kidding. They can just rewind to the back, and you get all the juiciness.
We've been spilling the tea the whole time.
Yeah, we were like dropping golds all throughout the interview. Yeah, you see it as a journey. You see it as putting out your best there, and caring for yourself, number one, which always important. I'm sure you do things that helps you stay grounded and in balance every day. I know I have to. As an entrepreneur, we get so busy and stressed out. We have to make sure we take care of ourselves.
Yep. Indeed. It was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you being there and your determination despite all the difficulties. We had a great time, and we provided a lot of wisdom. And you guys follow Karla. We'll have all the links. We had an amazing conversation. We'll be in touch. And thank you so much again. I appreciate it. It was exciting and amazing.
Thank you, Jenny. Have a great day.
Thanks, Karla. Have a good one.
Karla Karla impressed on me the significance of flexibility, creativity, and discipline in entrepreneurship. I also felt her emphasize the importance of living life on your own terms, being a role model, and defining success based on personal goals and accomplishments. These are great takeaways. I hope you got from her as much as I did. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. It all really helps the channel to grow. Until next time, see you!